The Rangers took game one after beating the Devils 5-1 at the Prudential Center. So we're bringing in the New York Post's Mark Cannizzaro to break down all things game one. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to split this up into two parts. One from a Rangers side of the things and then the other side from the Devils side of things. Mark, thanks for hopping on. I guess let's just start with the victors. What did the Rangers do right in game one?
Well, Brandon, they played really, I thought, a flawless first period. They came out and looked like the team that went, into the Eastern Conference, got as far as the Eastern Conference Final last year. While the Devils looked like a team that was tiptoeing a little bit into that first period, and they're, many of whom were playing their first playoff game, of their careers. Many of the Devils players, I should say. So I just thought the Rangers looked like the seasoned, more relaxed team in the big moment than the Devils did, and I thought they did a good job being physical with the Devils and kind of and not letting we just were showing this graphic of Jack Hughes right here, who was really the Devils' most dangerous player. Didn't really allow him to get out and skate. I thought they got some bodies on him early and set the tone. And they just, they took advantage of their opportunities. The penalty kill was a huge deal in that first period. They killed all three penalties in the first period. The Rangers had a penalty a minute and 15 in, and that could have been a big momentum swing for the Devils. And the Rangers really turned into a momentum swing for themselves by killing it off. So that really set a tone for the game.
You talked about that flawless first period as a team. A player that was darn near flawless on the night was Igor Georgiev. I mean, he was absolutely out of control. But do you think that he has more performances left like that in him throughout this series?
I certainly do. This was certainly one of the narratives of the series coming in with the Rangers clearly having the goaltending advantage. I mean, Igor, obviously Vezina Trophy winner last year, and even though this year had some off moments, it was still a pretty damn good year for him. And I thought he was probably in his best form of the year, certainly from what I've seen this year last night. So, yeah, I absolutely think he will continue to be an advantage for the Rangers in the nets. The Devils, they just don't have that kind of experience back there. And Igor is clearly the better of the two goalkeepers in this series.
All right, so I know one game doesn't make a series, but what do the Rangers need to do on Thursday night to head into the Garden up 2-0?
I think they need to do exactly what they did last night. I mean, they need to stay aggressive. They don't need. I think what they do need to realize is the Devils. They're going to see a different Devils team tomorrow night. There's no question about it. I think the Devils got smacked in the face a little bit. They kind of like maybe that snaps them into reality. I'm actually about to head over to the to the rink this afternoon to see their practice. I'll be curious to see what they have to say, after kind of marinating on that last night. Because I think I was in that room last night and they were a little bit shell shocked. I thought when I talked to a couple of the players, I think they, if the regular season they had no idea it was gonna unfold the way it did. The Rangers just have to keep doing what they're doing. They sold out. The penalty kill with the blocked shots. They had offensive guys, Zibanejad and these guys literally just selling out, coming back, blocking shots, getting back on defense. Things you don't see as much during the regular season. The Rangers did a good job of ratcheting it up, to that playoff level last night, which is something the Devils did not do.
I'm glad you talked about talking to some of the Devils players because we're going to switch it up and go to the Jersey side of things. One of the biggest narrative or the narrative heading into game one was, can this team overcome their lack of experience? And that first period showed that was true. So after talking to some of the players and the coaches, do you feel that it was the inexperience that lost them the game, or were there other factors?
I think it was. I mean, a couple of the guys I spoke to yesterday, Nico, their captain, Eric Howla, both of those guys tried to say it wasn't an experience factor that maybe was a detriment to the Devils early on in the game, but they also did admit that there were jitters, and they gave a lot of credit to the Rangers, who, as I said, kind of came out in playoff intensity form right out of the box. So yeah, I think that they realized, the Devils, that they didn't raise their level, and I think you'll see a raised level on Thursday night. I also think you're going to absolutely see Jack Hughes, a better Jack Hughes, on Thursday night than you did last night. I think the Rangers kind of knocked him a little bit out of his rhythm, and the Devils will find a way to get him back into rhythm. Listen, I think the Rangers got away with some stuff last night, Brandon. I mean, there were some unnecessarily and careless turnovers, which is why Igor had to come up so big. He made some really huge saves on some turnover chances the Rangers gave to the Devils, which is one of the big things that they were trying to avoid, because the Devils really can hurt you that way with the way they skate. And so those are the things certainly the Rangers will look at, and I think the Devils will look at just trying to take advantage of those opportunities, which they didn't on Thursday night.
Let's go even deeper on this rhythm, because if you look at the box score, the Devils led in almost every statistical category except obviously the one that counts, and that's goals. So how do they get things clicking early in Game 2?
Well, I mean, I'm going to go back to what I said before. Early on, I think that it felt like in the first period, the first 10 minutes, they were sticking their toe in the water for playoff hockey, some of them. That's just the way it looked to me. And I think that they realize that they've got to raise the level. Maybe some of these guys have never had to do that, who hadn't played playoff hockey before. The Rangers showed them how that's done last night. So I feel like some of these, the guys on the Devils who had not played playoff hockey before, including Hughes, maybe learn. I think actually, Eric Howell mentioned it to me last night. He said we learned a lesson last night, and I thought that was a pretty honest thing for them to say. And I think the lesson they learned was they need to raise their level. They can't be the same team that were 5 or 6 points better than the Rangers in the regular season. They've got to bring it up another notch, and they saw how the Rangers did that, right from the start last night. So I expect to see a better team than I saw. I mean, the Devils they've got a lot of talent, a lot of skill, and they can score goals in a hurry. So, the Rangers are maybe not going to get that fantastic performance by Igor every single night, and the Devils maybe take advantage of those opportunities. If you look at it, what if the Devils scored in that first power play, a minute 15 in? The building's a little bit more loud. Yep. The Devils have a little more confidence. Just those little things can swing things. It's a long series, obviously, and if most everything went right for the Rangers last night, I think the Devils will learn from that. They'll be better, and it'll be a more competitive game on Thursday night.
Well, you've talked about Jack Hughes and what he needs to do, so I'm kind of switching up this last question. Like, who for the Devils needs or has the pressure to be an X factor in Game 2 and for the rest of this series?
Well, I mean, I think it always centers around Hughes, but I would look at some like a guy like a Palat, who was one of the veterans they brought in. He was pretty quiet last night. He's been a playoff, a dazzling playoff player. I mean, he hurt the Rangers last year when he was with Tampa Bay. So I think maybe some of those more experienced guys like a Palat, who scored a bunch of goals in the postseason, maybe need to show the way a little bit and take some pressure off of Hughes. In speaking to Lindy Ruff before the game last night, he was asked, what should Hughes expect, and in a playoff game, and the first thing he said was he should expect a lot more attention, because that's what we're going to give the Rangers stars, and that now then falls on the next level guys, so to speak, right? And that next level needs to be guys like a Palat, just using him as an example, because he's one of the experienced guys on the team, to kind of step up, because there is a lot of attention on Hughes. But I think Hughes will get untracked at some point. I mean, he had a couple of moments last night. I mean, Igor stoned him on a couple of point blank shots when he got a couple of those turnovers. So that's not the last we're going to see of that. And so I do expect to see more out of Hughes. But yeah, some other guys do have to step up. Maybe some of the veteran guys that have played playoff hockey before need to show the way.
Well, it all goes down Thursday night. Mark, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Brandon.